You know, if you say the name Minister Louis Farrakhan to a lot of young people today, they don't even know who he was. But back in the mid-'80s and the '90s, he made headlines and was one of the most controversial black leaders around.
When you honor the freedom of speech, when you give a forum, when you give an opportunity for a voice to be heard, you don't necessarily support what that person says. You don't have to agree with what that person says. You don't even have to make the argument that somehow truth will emerge. What you're doing is supporting your own freedoms. Ultimately, you're supporting your own freedom of expression.
Freedom of speech was just one of the issues surrounding Minister Louis Farrakhan's visit to Pittsburgh. For Black Americans, Minister Farrakhan's views on economics, politics, and the role of black leadership have been a continuing source of conversation.
Whenever your leadership is wrong, you have to be courageous enough to speak the truth, because it is only truth that corrects. We cannot see only good in black and evil in white. We have to see good and evil wherever it raises its head and cut the head off wherever it comes up. Now, what do you mean, Farrakhan, cut the head off? I knew there was violence in you. The way you cut the head off of a false thing is to speak the truth on it, and it will not allow that wicked mind to function.
You are a black leader in this country. You have spoken extensively about black leadership. What is your assessment of black leadership today?
We have some very brilliant, qualified black men and women who are leading us and could lead us much better if our organizations were more under our control. What has gotten me in trouble is the fact that I recognize that most black politicians, most black leaders, most black organizations, most black business is directly tied to some aspect of Jewish control. And if we offend them in any way, then we lose. In the last 10 years, Jews who heavily financed the NAACP and the Urban League have been cutting back on their physical and financial aid to black organizations. The fact that they are not supporting black organizations as they once did meant the demise, the weakening, the fall of those organizations. So the NAACP is not as strong today as it was 10 years ago or 15 years ago. Black organizations and black organizational leaders have to develop some kind of economic strategies that will allow them the freedom to speak up for the hurt of our people.
For so long, you completely avoided the media. Since 1984 and the Reverend Jesse Jackson's campaign for the presidency, you have continually appeared before the media. Why the change in your position?
When a woman is pregnant, she might want to see what her baby looks like, but she's got to wait for time. In the early days of my effort to rebuild the Nation of Islam under the leadership of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I was pregnant with a word and an organization that could not be exposed to the light before it was able to stand that light. This past year, 1984, Reverend Jesse Jackson asked me if I would not keep the black public from that which God had blessed me with, and he pleaded with me to come out and speak again, which I did. The result is, of course, what you see. And so this year will probably be the last time that I will be giving interviews for a long time. And I have very qualified help that will be out in the public, serving the public, while I take care of the business of building a national structure and organizing black people for progress.
For many in the audience, the most important message Minister Farrakhan had to share was the idea of black economic independence.
And what I'm saying is if black people begin to produce just some of the things that we consume. I'm not a toiletry man that's just interested in making personal care items like toothpaste and deodorant and toilet paper. Please. I recognize that black folks spend money on these things in large quantities. $400 million we spent last year on toothpaste. Nearly $800 million on mouthwash. Now, if we got some of this money into our own pocket, then we could begin to strengthen black institutions. We could begin to buy farmland and feed ourselves and America again on a better principle. With our economic strength, it would lead to political strength. And the more economic and political strength we had, we would not sentence so many blacks in South Africa to die if we were on the case right here in America with leverage. America would bow to power if she can bow to the manipulation and the power of less than 6 million. What would she do if 40 million leveraged their power to make America a more just country? So I'm saying the power is in your hands. You got it. You just have to use it.
I'm sure there are many phases, but could you briefly explain your plan for black economic independence?
The power plan is based on people organized and working for economic rebirth. We believe that black folk in America who have a purchasing power of over $204 billion need to use this purchasing power to lift ourselves up. So we have decided to manufacture products, trying to put the black producer directly into relationship with the black consumer through a system of distribution, which we would control. This would enable us to get some of the money that we give away or send back into the white community and allow it to come back into our own community, which we could use to strengthen black institutions, to build the black community, to develop farming for ourselves, housing, develop factories, to feed, clothe, and shelter ourselves. We believe, in conclusion, that black folk cannot continue to depend on white people to do for us what they don't have the means now to do for us. We have the means to do it for ourselves. We have the education. We have the qualifications. Now we need to pool the education, the qualification, and the finance, and black people will be able to become a productive people worthy of self-respect and commanding the respect of others.
You are a father of 9, a grandfather of 14. What kind of world do you envision for your grandchildren?
I would like to see that world that the scriptures of the Bible and Holy Quran prophesy of, and that world is called the kingdom of God. If God's rule is established on earth, then men are not judged by their color. Men are judged by the divine commitment that they make to obey the law of God. And as law renders all things equal, the divine law of God established in a government would render all people equal under that law. So you would not be judged by your blackness, or they would not be judged by their whiteness, but by your rightness would you be judged and accepted in the kingdom of God. That, to me, is what I would like to live to see, and even if I don't live to see it, if I could help to prepare the road for that kind of world to come in, I would gladly spend my life to see it become reality.